season. Did you feel like you were just ready to go game one this year?
Yeah, I was ready to jump in immediately. Definitely been working towards one of those weekend spots. To be able to get it felt good, and then to be able to perform like I did, really. Just hopefully we can just keep it going.
How did it feel coming in knowing you guys had lost the first two, and if you were going to salvage at least a split, you were going to have to perform well?
It actually, after game one, I know guys were coming into the locker room they had underneath, and we got one more. Let's go get this one. And it seemed like the tide turned really from about the first inning on. Felt like a completely new team, felt like a completely new day. So,
talk about these freshmen that come in and close things out. A guy like Acuna or now the name's slipping me. Kyle over at closing, right? Kyle? Kenyon.
Both those guys, we've seen that thing going on from fall to winter and all that, so it wasn't anything new to us. Those guys are lights out, and when they get out there with the confidence they had, no one can touch them.
You battled through freshman season and doing a lot of bullpen stuff. Do you give any insight to those guys?
Definitely. And my year didn't begin like I wanted it to last year, definitely. And the really thing I've been preaching to them is just stay patient, stay with the process, and everything should go well if you just trust it.
I wanted to know, George was talking about, you score 21s, but give up 20 runs too. What's sort of that adjustment like to make sure the offense is producing and make sure the pitching and everybody's just sort of working together? It's one unit.
Just to really stick with each other as we come in into the dugout. I know I'm a guy who likes to have fun. I'm a guy who likes to smile, and I try and spread that to everyone else as far as whether I'm cracking jokes in the dugout. I feel like I perform better when I do that, and I also see a difference in our guys when they're smiling and having fun. Baseball's a game, and to be able to treat it like a game, you see better results.
Down in San Diego, it sounds like weather's going to be a factor, and maybe you guys won't even know some of the times that you're playing. How's that affect you as a starter and knowing when you're going to go, maybe not knowing until the morning of?
I mean, it doesn't affect it as much. You prepare like you're going to go every single day, and then when your number's called, you just go out and perform. So it shouldn't affect it that much.
Anything that you worked on over the offseason, any pitches or anything that are helping you out right now?
My changeup, really. That was the one thing I went to a lot last year. Last year was a lot of sliders, a lot of fastball slider. And this year, wanting to become a starter, I felt like I had to develop kind of that third pitch. And so I really worked on my changeup, and it feels good right now. So
you're not a guy that's just going to blow it past somebody.
Yeah.
So you do rely on some of those off speed. Is that what you found, is that you got to have those out pitches?
Yeah. I think even as a guy, if you can throw hard, I think you still have to have some off speed. But as a guy who doesn't throw maybe the hardest as these other guys, I have to rely on that more. And I know the very first pitch Coach Dietrich called was a changeup of the game. So, and I know he has faith in my off speed, and I have faith in my off speed. So,
is that circle, three finger? What do you?
Circle, just circle changeup. I can kind of play with it a little bit. I can get it to cut, get it to drop, get it to run. So,
how much different things can you do with just a given pitch like a changeup, given your arm slot and everything?
I can do a lot of things with it. It's all about pressure on my fingers. I mean, it depends on if it's a lefty or righty. I mean, there are a lot of things to attribute to it. So
that's awesome.
Coach was saying, I think you mentioned a second ago, that throwing a changeup, I think was the first pitch of the game.
Yeah.
That I can't recall something like that being conventional, let's say.
Yeah.
But I am curious about sort of the way his mind works in that pitch calling and how I know it's fun. And talking with Peterson earlier this season, he said the guy's a genius in doing so.
Yeah.
So how has that sort of made a difference for the staff as a whole, and sort of being unique in that way?
Well, last year with Coach Horton being our pitching coach, I know he was also working with the hitters and kind of being the head coach. He was around the team as a whole. But this year, having Coach Dietrich really just with the pitchers, he's been able to build relationships with us through the fall and winter, and I think he knows each one of us individually better than we may know ourselves. And so, I mean, I wasn't surprised when he called a first pitch changeup, and I have full faith in what he calls. So whatever he calls.
Do you get a little excited? Did you feel like a smile creep across your face when he called something like that?
Oh yeah. There were a couple times during the game where I knew what was coming even before it was coming. Just talking with him in between innings, just trying to stay loose, but the guy's a genius, like David said. I mean, there's not many people as smart as he is.
That's awesome. Thanks, Cole. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Cole.